Well, not that it matters, because right now they're going to be paying you to take gas, apparently. Here, take some of this gas. Fill your car, please. We have too much of it. What is going on there? Is anyone paying attention to the whole
Joe, tell us what's going on.
Oil price?
I don't know that I know more than you guys do, but I've got an article I can put up on the screen to make it look like I've read it.
Do that.
Let's just be honest here. But yeah, so it's already gone back up. So this isn't true anymore. We kind of covered that before we started recording. But yeah, this last week, oil prices actually went negative, which means that they are they're producing more than they can sell, and they have to pay people to store it. Wow. Okay, so I've seen some stuff just around about this, so I'm gonna sort of repeat them, and if they're wrong, then let's blame them. But so just before all this happened, we were already kind of having a bit of an oil issue because Iran and I believe Argentina, Russia, Saudi Arabia. I'm just going to throw out country names now. But there was a kind of a pricing war going on, and it was sort of pricing us out of the market here in the United States. And then everybody stopped driving.
Yeah.
And going to work and stuff. And so everything just completely fell apart. But yeah, so it dipped down below right here. It says oil prices crashed through zero, closing out the day at negative $37 a barrel.
On 420.
On 420, yeah. So I don't remember when was the last time this happened? It was like back in the 30s or something.
Wow.
Has it ever? Yeah. So,
or since they started tracking it back in the 30s.
What's interesting about this to me is, I feel like typically you'd hear when high gas prices, you're looking at like $100 a barrel, and now you're at a negative dollars a barrel. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was exactly what you said. I think it was just the confluence of the OPEC changes, because it's funny how that whole thing works. I don't know if you guys have researched it much. I'm vaguely familiar, but you have a cartel, like the actual definition of the word cartel, called OPEC, and they all get together and agree what to do, because if one person produces more than there should be, then it throws off the entire oil market worldwide. And Russia, I don't believe, is in OPEC, so it's usually like Russia and OPEC basically decide what's going on. But here in the U.S., ever since, when was it? We had like a huge oil shortage. I'm probably for the past 60, 70 years, we've been investing heavily in our own oil production in the U.S. And so we actually make more than we use. We're a net exporter. And so when you look at all that, it's like, yeah, if somebody's not, like, all these pieces have to fit together right, otherwise this is what happens. And then tack on, nobody's driving anywhere, and you're just like, the whole industry falls apart real quick.
Well, it says right here at the end of this article, it says, these staggering figures may not be as large in May and beyond, but there's little chance the global demand will bounce back to $100 a gallon anytime soon, or barrel, sorry, if ever.
Yeah, $100 a barrel is always kind of the marker of like, whoa, that's getting high. Like the oil market's running hot. And then OPEC and those guys could say, hey, let's produce more,
Yeah.
Well, here, real quick, let me share my screen, because there's one of my most trusted sources, thestonkmarket.com. Elementary school forced to take possession of 10 million barrels of oil. This is just satire.
Like The Onion.
Yeah, it's really funny. Tom shared it in Discord, and it made me laugh really hard. But that's pretty funny. I wonder what impact this will have, though, on people wanting to purchase an EV, because obviously low gas prices make consumers a little more prone to not worrying about which vehicle they get next, big SUVs type of stuff. But at the same time, like, I wonder if this is, at the same time, we're also seeing people experiencing, a lot of the environmental impacts that we're seeing, where the air is cleaner than ever before, all that type of stuff. It's interesting. I wonder, I don't know. What do you guys think?
So there's a group of guys that I meet with on Zoom. Been doing it long before Zoom was really popular, on Wednesday nights. And one of them works as an architect, or he works in an architecture firm. And he has been working from home during this thing. And he was saying last night, he was like, I don't know that I'm going to go back to work in the office anytime soon, you know? And just because what I think has happened is like, a lot of companies could have done work from home kind of things for a long time, but it was always like, I'm just trying to get business done for the day. That's like this side thing that I don't need to worry about. And it's something I don't have time for that, you know, as a manager or whatever.
Right.
And then they were forced to implement these resources to make it so that people could work from home. And I think we're going to see a lot of people saying, you know what, I'm more efficient this way. It's less time stuck in traffic. A lot of this is going to continue afterwards, I think. Like a lot of companies that were putting off doing some kind of work from home functionality have now implemented it, and a lot of them aren't going to completely go back. So I keep saying this. I'm always thinking about like what is happening right now and how it's going to permanently, you know, carry on beyond this. And that's one of those things. And I think the price of oil is going to stay pretty low for a while.
I think that's a good thing. There was I was just trying to find the quote, but there was an interesting study done in China about this, where they took I think it was 500 people. I'm sorry, they asked 1,000 employees who wanted to work from home. This is in China at it's something called C-Trip, which is China's version of Expedia. They asked 1,000 people if they would want to work from home, and 500 of them volunteered. And a lot of them had really long commutes. And what they found was that those people were more productive in the short term. And then when asked to come back, a lot of them decided to still come back because they missed the human connection with the other people.
Social interaction.
Yeah.
So so it, you know, there's lots of studies and stuff in this space about how it affects people, but like in the short term, productivity goes up, people are happy, but in the long term, it's a negative thing. So it sounds like just like your sit-stand desk, like there needs to be some kind of balance of like once a month company lunches, it's the minimum, or something
come in
like
once
that.
a week.
Yes,
right,
exactly.
Yeah.
Come in, and it'd be how great would it be? This might be getting into like communism or something, but how great would it be if there was some kind of system in place where it encouraged, hey, these companies around, you know, this, you guys do a meeting on Monday, you guys do meetings on Tuesday in these regions or whatever, or so that people aren't all flocking, like the 9 to 5 idea where like everyone goes to work at the same time and leaves at the same time. What if we started spreading that out and, you know, like making it so...
What if we flatten the curve?
What if we flatten
of
the
commuting?
Seriously, yeah. I don't know. I wonder how big of a ripple effect this will have, because we were talking last week or 2 weeks ago about, you know, offices and everything, where if all of a sudden office spaces are half as big because people aren't working in the office as much, or, you know, they're electively coming in every other week or whatever type of thing, you know, what will happen to the economy there? And will that shift where all of a sudden some of these big, huge mega corporations will need to just go down to the size smaller, and, you know, because they're not needing this giant one anymore? And
there will be other effects too, like you know, restaurants nearby, coffee shops nearby, you know, who live on those companies, you know, like in downtown San Diego, in the area I used to have an office, it was called the Central Business District. Basically after like 2 or 3 o'clock, all the places shut down. Like that's it, because they're like, yep, lunch rush is over, we're going home. So yeah, there's the whole ecosystem, the like economic ecosystem that exists today is built around this model, and now that model is shattered. But yeah, what's going to happen? You know, how many of the pieces are going to come back to what they were?
Yeah,
maybe some balance. I had a team when I had my team here in San Diego for Pluralsight. I kind of had a do whatever you want policy in terms of coming into the office, but come in for team lunch, which was every Tuesday. So we would cater in lunch, and then we would just, you know, kind of chew the fat, you know, tell stories, whatever. I would give like an update, what's going on. And that was it. That's all I cared about. Other than that, you could work from home 100% if you want. I really don't care. Because we have people that had this one guy, he had a commute. If he came in rush hour, it would be like an hour and a half to an hour 45 to get into the office. And I'm like, this is just stupid.
Right.
This is a complete waste of everyone's time.
You were talking about, Joe, with the people missing the socialization. Maybe it'll just shift where people socialize more locally with their neighbors and with their friends as opposed to their coworkers, because now you're not commuting 2 hours a day. You have more time to do just socialization. I don't know.
It's funny you say that, because that was something else that we talked about last night with those friends of mine, was that, they walk around the neighborhood and people are just like hanging out in their front yards, neighbors coming over 6 feet apart,
Yeah.
but like they're just bringing their little lawn chairs and sitting out there and hanging out. And
Socially responsible
I'd never seen
beers.
that before. I lived here for 10 years. I've never seen that before.
Huh. That's cool. I haven't even really like hung out with my friends at all. That might be a good idea. Like do like a big giant circle in someone's front lawn where you're all far apart.
Yeah.
In a cornfield.
You could.
Not to go, I know we're kind of on a different topic now, but going back to the whole oil price thing, I said oil. Very, very Texan.
Yaldiv.
Oil. You ever been to the oil bowl? But so giving a little bit of credit where I saw this was 2-Bit Da Vinci did a video about this that I saw yesterday or this morning, whatever. But I don't know exactly how oil pumps work, but apparently you can't just turn them on and off. Because once you turn it off, like things get unsettled and you can't. Yeah. So when you're having these moments like this where they don't have any place to store it and the consumption has gone down, it kind of builds on top of itself because they can't just turn off the oil wells. They have to let them keep going, or else it actually causes more problems.
Well, and this is the OPEC thing, right? So when they agree to like increase production, what they're saying is take the ginormous reserves we have and sell more of it. Yeah. So it's a scarce resource, but it's like a falsely scarce resource, like diamonds or something, where diamond dealers buy all the diamonds, so that way there are fewer of them, that way the prices go up, right? And so it's that same kind of thing. And this one is exactly what you said, because you can't just hit the off button or have a Nest thermostat, be like, turn all those off. Well, I'm not using them. Doesn't work. Well,
and so I just got to mention the flip side of all this as well, being in Texas. So oil in Texas is basically like coal in West Virginia. Like everybody knows somebody that works in the oil industry around here, especially the part of Texas that I come from. And so I'm seeing a lot of posts on Facebook from people that are like, pray for the oil industry. And you're sitting there going, what? but that's because they're worried about losing their jobs,
right,
and not being able to provide for their families. Of course, nobody wants to lose their jobs or anything.
Well,
so
how long until there's a bailout for the oil industry?
Well, yeah,
inevitably.
But I'm seeing an interesting parallel between what we've kind of been hearing from coal country to what we're now starting to see in oil country. It's starting to mirror that a little bit.
Man, it's almost like we should have.
And of course, I feel for people who are worried about losing their incomes and not being able to pay their rents and their family, meals and everything.
But this is where I do not understand why there's people like they'll act. I mean, I know why, but when people try to actively, get rid or like deny solar and wind farms, saying like they're evil and all this misinformation. It's like those are job potentials, guys.
Yeah.
There's a huge.
I think solar is the biggest energy sector employer, I believe.
It's crazy, and it's just growing. So why fight that? This is that whole thing. I've said this about a lot of things before, but it's like if you are still betting and reinvesting right now in clearly antiquated technologies like coal and oil, you deserve to lose your money, because you can clearly see the trends. Like obviously, we can see what's happening here and what's happening here, and like why are you still? You deserve to lose your money. Yes, I agree. Like 30, 40 years ago, if you invested $4 trillion or something, and you're like, oh, it was a 50-year payoff. I got, there's going to be a lot of money. Just got to hang in there for 10 minutes. I get that. But if you're today still being like, well, I got to get a new oil rig up here, like,
tons.
Why?
And there's still tons of that stuff going on, man. It's ridiculous that these companies aren't shifting. As I guess, it's such a nuanced conversation, right? There's so really much to consider. Like it's easy for us to sit here and say this, but we don't know, all that stuff, all the pieces things that have set in motion 10 years ago,
right?
That are you can't stop now, kind of a thing. Like,
yeah. Well, so you can make a parallel to like what happened with Kodak. They said we're a film company,
yeah,
not we're an image company or a camera company.
Right.
we're a film company.
Right.
And then when everything started to shift, they were like, oh no,
Yeah.
Same thing. Nobody's stopping Shell or Exxon from saying we're an energy company. So let's also make some windmills. Let's
And
also
they
get
are.
into solar,
They are.
Oh, are
for
they?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's the thing.
Talking out my butt.
Well, to what degree is the deal? Because BP and these guys I know are doing huge amounts, but then you look at it, it's almost like Volkswagen with Electrify America. You're like, that exists because of Dieselgate. You were not going to do that. That was not, and like BP is doing all this stuff. Yeah. Remember the Deepwater Horizon thing or whatever? Yeah. There's a reason you're doing it, right?
Yeah,
so you have to wonder where, but I don't care. Like, I know some people really get into the motivation behind why.
Right.
I don't care. As long as you're doing it, let's party.
Even
Right?
if people are doing the right thing for the wrong reasons, they're still doing the right thing.
China's a very good example because they're the largest EV market in the world. They're pushing EVs incredibly hard. They're pushing renewables incredibly hard. They have all kinds of really fascinating tech, all these things going. But that's not to say that the human rights record of China is also good.
Right.
Like, clearly,
Right.
China has some things that I think we can all objectively look at and go, that's not good.
Right.
But to me, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like an eternal optimist of like, I always want to find the good in someone or something, and I'm for it regardless of how or why it happens.
Well, and the same thing happens with us with politics, obviously, where people will, like, someone of an opposing party will do something that is clearly right, and then people will be like, yeah, but I don't think I like this because they also did X, Y, and Z in the same type of manner. It's like, no, guys, you should be applauding them when they do something you like. That's how we get out of this stupid, like, totally black and white syndrome that we're in right now, where everything, like, the president, if someone's, opposed to the president of the United States, they might say, like, well, I mean, it's about time he did that, but it's like, no, guys, applaud when something is done that is a good idea. Like, I hate that we're so.
The one that stuck out to me was the medical charges. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but he signed something that forced all healthcare providers to release what's called a charge master publicly. This is how much, like, if you get your blood drawn, how much does it actually cost them versus how much do they bill the insurance companies?
Oh.
And this is basically, you could, talking from lots of conversations I've had with a good friend that's an expert in this field, you can point to like why healthcare in this country is so expensive to the charge master. This whole thing that was created back in the 70s, it's ridiculous. And it's all been completely secret and private. And then Trump signed a thing. It's like, nope, not anymore. And you're like, oh, you may disagree with him, but hell yeah. Like, I want to see that data because that's going to make a positive impact on people. So yeah, I agree with you. Like, I always try to find the good in people and things. So.
Well, I hope this podcast helps us, or at least reminds ourselves to not always be so polarized on the sides, but really just focus on an issue and say, oh, good, like, we're making progress in this, or we're not, and because I don't know, we're in this weird, our country is, the world, I feel like, is so extra divided, and I don't think social media is helping that. Hey, thanks for checking us out, guys. I hope you enjoyed this clip from our podcast.
We do a weekly show here on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe to Our Ludicrous Future, where we discuss all the things that are going to make our future totally ludicrous.
You can join us here on YouTube or at any of your favorite podcast places. Plus, if you want to get some behind-the-scenes stuff and join a cool community, you can help support the channel at patreon.com. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.